Welcome to the Real Life Wellness Podcast, the show where we explore how to create your own wellness. We dive into everything that happens on the journey to a happier, healthier, and more balanced life. I'm your host, Faith Lauterbach. As a registered nurse and a holistic wellness coach, I have a passion for empowering people to create a vision for their life, prioritize themselves, and then live the life they want. So get ready to discover new ways to nourish your body, mind, and spirit. Let's embark on this journey together and make wellness simple. Welcome back to the Real Life Wellness Podcast. I'm Faith, and I'm so glad you're here. It's episode number 25, and we're going to be talking about something that truly sets the foundation for our overall well-being and health. It is self-love. Okay, when you hear that phrase, self-love, what is the first thing that comes to your mind? Now, before you roll your eyes or get all cringy, hear me out. Self-love sets the tone for how we treat our bodies, how we treat our minds, and our spirit. It influences every choice that we make, boundaries that we set, and how we show up in our own lives. When we choose to grow and change from a place of love rather than criticism, it changes everything. I see this all the time in my coaching practice, and I've experienced it personally as well. True self-love is not something we can find by scrolling on social media, or fix with some magic pill or treatment. So many people believe that they'll love themselves when. It's always tied to this. When they lose weight, when they achieve a certain goal, when they receive validation from others. But self-love isn't conditional. It's something that we cultivate from and create within. And without it, all of the changes and growth that we want to have happen kind of crumble. For me, self-love has made every challenge in my life easier to navigate. And today I want to share 5 things that have truly worked for me. But before I get into those, I want to talk about one of the things that can propel change that we want in our lives. You know, that most people say they want certain things, whether it's weight loss, whether it's a goal at work, or whether it's like to be a better fill in the blank. When we approach it from that place of true self-love and care for ourselves, we not only impact our own lives, but we impact everybody around us. All the people that we love and care about, when we love ourselves, we make their lives better too. And that is something it took me a really long time to learn. A really long time. So let's get started into these 5 things. And these are 5 things that have worked for me. And again, everybody's path is different. And so I hope that some of these things that have worked for me are helpful for you too. I would love to hear back and let me know if they are. But I just want you to know your path may be different, and that's okay too. But here's what's helped me. The first thing is paying attention to what energizes me. So one of the biggest shifts in my life happened when I really started asking myself and thinking about what feels energizing in my life and what feels draining. Now, this awareness changed how I made decisions. And so much so that I make it part of my regular routine where every Sunday I take time to reflect back on the past week. And I ask myself, what brought me joy? And what depleted me? And I come up with very specific things. And this practice has allowed me to intentionally move toward what fills me up. Now, I'm not sure if you know anything about the Enneagram, but I am an Enneagram 2. And I guess if you're not familiar with it, just know an Enneagram 2 is known as a helper, which that sounds great, right? How nice to be a helper. But if you know about the Enneagram, or if you learn about it, you know that there are healthy and unhealthy aspects to it. And when I'm in a healthy place, it's all about my motivation. I help in areas that make me feel connected. They're in alignment with my values, and I'm doing it because it's internally what I want to be doing. It gives me energy. But in an unhealthy place, it's quite the opposite. I begin helping because I'm in this people-pleasing mode. I want other people to think how nice I am. Or, it can take on this martyrdom scenario. Hopefully I pronounced that right. I show up as a martyr instead of as someone who is intentionally helping others because it feels like it's in alignment with what I want to be doing. So this step, paying attention to what energizes me, has helped me to stay in that space and know what is my motivation going into something. And it's been so important. It's really impacted so much of my life. The second thing is setting boundaries. Now, I know that term has gotten a lot of attention and maybe a little bit of a buzzword, but to me, learning to protect my time, energy, and peace was a game changer. So boundaries are really not about avoiding responsibilities or hard tasks even. It's really, to me, about being mindful about where my energy is going. So saying no to those things that were draining to me, not volunteering my time and energy to places that didn't feel supportive of where I was or what I wanted to be doing. And I started saying no to things. I structured my time better for things I had to do but didn't enjoy as much, right? I mean, we're never going to be living in a world that every single thing we're doing we absolutely love. But you can structure experiences and structure events or time with if there's someone that does drain your energy, and maybe you don't have a choice, you do have to be around that person, being able to structure time around that person so that you can almost just know, I know I'm going to limit this time that I'm in this situation that's draining. Those are all ways you can set boundaries, or ways that I have learned to set boundaries. This small shift has really brought me so much freedom. Learning to say no and asking for what I need. Those are all pieces to boundaries that were really important to me. Were not things I was doing. I was not saying no, and I was not asking for what I need. Implementing that has been a really supportive self-practice in my life and has changed so much for me. The third thing is to reframe my inner dialogue. Words have so much power, and especially the words we tell ourselves. Once I started paying attention to that inner dialogue that was going on, I realized how often I was speaking to myself in a way I would never, ever speak to my friend or someone I loved. So I began asking myself, would I say this to my kids? Would I say this to my best friend? Would I say this to my husband? Would I say this to my mom? Would I say this to my dad? Just flipping that around, and those thoughts that are coming in your head that we have so many each day, would I say those to somebody else that I loved? And if the answer was no, I really got curious about why I was saying it to myself. Why am I allowing these detrimental thoughts? They're not going to be helping. I mean, we can't shame somebody into changing. And it's almost like that's what's happening with this negative self-talk, is we're trying to shame ourselves into whatever it is that we're trying to do. And it just doesn't work. It doesn't work. So why do we keep doing it? Why did I keep doing it? And so that was really the questions I started asking myself. The more I practiced this awareness, the easier it became to shift my thoughts towards kindness and encouragement. Because we can't just talk ourselves out of it. We can't just be like, I'm not going to ever say anything negative to myself again and fight those thoughts out. That's just not really how it works. And so what I found was helpful for me is to bring awareness to it. Ask myself those questions. Would I say this to fill in the blank? And then from there, start just being curious and changing that dialogue, even if it's just a little bit, to something that was more kind or maybe neutral. If it was something really mean, maybe just going to something neutral. So anyways, that was also another really important step in my path to self-love. All right, the fourth thing I want to talk about is practicing joy daily. Joy is not something that just happens. It's something that we create. Other people, other outside sources are not responsible for my joy. So I've learned that it's my responsibility to bring joy into my daily life. I'm not going to wait around for somebody else to do something that's joyful to me. I mean, that's just giving away all of your power. And I lived like that for a long time, but it really wasn't getting me anywhere. And it also put me in this situation where could easily like blame others or things going on in my life, but taking that empowering stance of I'm going to bring joy into my daily life. Some of the things that bring me joy are spending time with my grandchildren, reading a good book, catching up with a friend, playing a game with my husband, or even something as simple as organizing a cluttered space. What brings you joy? I really encourage you to think about that and make space for it every day. Put it in your calendar. Find these activities. Like for me, I make sure that I'm doing these things. I make sure that I am not waiting for someone to ask me to do whatever. I am seeking out those situations, those opportunities to do those things that fill my heart with joy. Maybe it's just taking 10 minutes to sit on the couch and read a magazine or a book. That makes me feel so happy. Taking a hot bath. It doesn't have to be these big, huge events. Watching a funny thing. Oh my gosh. We just watched a very funny thing on Netflix last night, actually. It was a comedy show. Leanne, oh my gosh. I will link it in these show notes. What is her name? She is a comedian and so funny. Leanne something. I will find it and I'll put it in these show notes so you can watch it too. It brought me so much joy. So anyways, seek out the things to practice joy daily. Take back that power and let's start doing things that bring us joy. I know I have, and it has been so helpful. Okay. Now, the fifth thing I'll talk about that I have done in this own path to self-love is nourishing my body. We are really just bombarded with messages about how our bodies should look in words, in pictures, in social media, on magazines, on just everywhere you look. You see things that are telling us what our bodies should look like. And that's really hard to kind of get out of that imposter syndrome, maybe. I don't know if that's the right word, but, instead of thinking about like, how do I want my body to look? I really started asking, how do I want my body to feel? And the thing is when I am acting in a way that answers that question, how do I want my body to feel? It has a secondhand response of changing the way my body looks. You know what I'm saying? But that motivation, when it comes from how do I want my body to feel, that shift changes everything. And so the focus is on eating foods that energize me. Okay? But guess what? Those are foods that are healthy for me, that are also going to help me stay fit and active and look the way I want to look. But the motivation is different. It's coming from how do I want my body to feel? And moving my body in ways that feel good. Like, I don't know about how many of you have worked out in ways that, both things, eating, dieting, working out in ways that are these very harsh and mean ways to ourselves. Yeah, we can do that for a little bit, but like, if we're not putting emphasis on how do I want my body to feel, eating things that energize me, moving my bodies in ways that feel good, and for me too, prioritizing sleep, that shift is huge. And it's not about control, where how do I want my body to look comes from a place of control, of fear. But how do I want my body to feel? It comes from a place of love. So, to recap, the 5 things that have made self-love a part of my life is number 1, pay attention to what energizes me. Number 2 is setting boundaries. Number 3 is reframing my inner dialogue. Number 4 is practicing joy daily in my life. And number 5 is nourishing my body. I would love to hear if any of this resonated with you. And also to let you know, I'd love to help you explore how self-love can transform your wellness journey. Now, this is personalized for everybody, right? Like maybe you can take some things from my 5, which is great. I would love that if that's the case, but maybe not all of them feel right for you. If that's the case and you want to dive deeper into this, you can book a time for us to chat. No obligation, just let's have a conversation, kind of dip your toe into that coaching world. Just check the link in the show notes and you can schedule right into my calendar. I do in-person and remote consultations. And before we wrap up, I want to say thank you for being here. Your time and energy mean so much to me. I'm honored that you chose to spend these last, 20-ish minutes with me. And I want you to know that it is very important to me. And I take that to heart that you have spent that time with me. If you've been enjoying this podcast, I'd love to hear from you. What topics are resonating with you? What do you want more of? I'd love for you to reply back or send me a message. Until next time, just remember that self-love isn't a destination. It's not like we get somewhere and we're done. It's a continual practice. Like these 5 things that I'm doing, it's not like I did them once and now, everything's great. That's not how it works. It is a practice. I am working on these all the time, daily. And I want you to know that you are worthy of taking the time for yourself every single day. Until we meet again, be well. Thank you so much for tuning in today to the Real Life Wellness Podcast. To stay updated on my latest episodes and wellness insights, be sure to subscribe to the podcast and follow me on social media. If you have any questions or topics you'd like me to explore, feel free to reach out. I love hearing from you. If you could, please review or rate this podcast on Apple or Spotify to help more people learn how to make wellness simple.